Κυρίες και κύριοι, καλώς ήρθατε στο διήμερο συνέδριο της Beyond, διεθνούς έκθεσης.
Welcome to Beyond Summit Conference on New Technology and Innovation. I would like to call to the floor Mr. Haralambous, who is one of the organizers for Beyond. You're having the floor. Good morning. I would like to welcome you for the second consecutive year in the Beyond Summit. That's an important event that was inaugurated last year for the first time, and it aims at becoming an important technological event for Greece, the Balkans, and Southeastern Europe. We feel very happy, particularly happy, because this year's event is much larger than the previous year. We have very high goals set. We have a long way ahead of us. However, having the support by exhibitors, sponsors, and people who support us, we are convinced that we will succeed that. At the beginning of this conference, I would like to warmly thank all the companies that support us, our sponsors. Two of the biggest companies in the world, Deloitte and HP Enterprise, are starting this conference. These companies have made important investments in Greece, and we will make even more. Among the audience, I can see many young people who will be involved in the field of informatics and technology, and they have come here to get to know the future and the day after. Welcome. We're very happy to have you with us. Beyond is here with high goals, and I'm sure that all of us together, we can achieve the desired goal and result. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome our first speaker, Mr. Edmondo Riotti, AI Business Development Lead EMEA HP Enterprise, and he will speak about revealing the future, the AI revolution. Please welcome Mr. Riotti.
Thank you. Kalimera, and let's start. I will just give you a quick glimpse on where we see AI evolving, and there is in particular one technology that I would like to present that I believe is going to be the most disruptive technology in this decade. So the starting point of AI, of modern AI, is obviously the amount of data that we generate. I usually use this slide just to give a sense of how much we have basically lost control on managing the data that is generated. We have different ways of generating data, right? We have human-generated data, machine-generated data, and so on. But I usually use these numbers. They come from Ericsson, from a study that they made, where basically by 2025, they expect to process something like 370 exabytes of data monthly just from the wireless traffic. 370 exabytes. Right? So if you think about our smartphones are going to generate more than 50 gigabytes of data, right, per month. Imagine this multiplied everywhere, and you understand why AI does need to provide the capabilities for extracting value out of all this data. So, in order to do this, at HP, we provide infrastructure. And infrastructure doesn't mean just servers, compute, HPC systems, even though we provide the fastest supercomputers in the world. It means also providing the environment, the software environment that allows researchers to work on these solutions. And we have a portfolio of software tools. I just want to introduce introduce them. But basically, this portfolio of software tools allows to solve some specific problems that we see happening when we deal with AI. So one of these software tools is based on a technology that is called swarm learning, which is about having AI models that are trained in a decentralized way. What does it mean? It means that if we have data that is not consolidated, imagine hospitals that are not connected to each other. There's not one single database, but you do want to develop an AI solution on the data, on the patient data that is sitting in all these hospitals. With swarm learning, you basically distribute the training, and you make sure that the information that is in one hospital can be valued also in another place. This is used in healthcare. This is used in the retail banking as well, and this is obviously used also in fraud detection, especially in the financial world. You have data that is sitting in each country. You cannot move all this data into one single country, so you want to leverage the expertise you get in each one of these countries and be able to consolidate it. This is one solution. It actually got the cover of Nature for a study that we developed specifically in healthcare. So this is the technology I would just want to focus in this short presentation. The large language models. Large language models are an evolution, and they fall under the broader umbrella of natural language processing. Let's say the difference from the past is that these large language models have evolved and are starting to show extremely interesting results. Large language models are going to change, first, the way that we interact with machines. Because we are going to interact. This is not distant future. We are going to interact with machines as we interact with humans. So we can even play jokes. We can speak with these machines, and we have the perception, just the perception, but we have the perception that these machines are human because they reply to us on context, on meaning, and so on. So in order to build these large language models, there is a lot of study behind and a lot of infrastructure. This is an example. This is with the English translation. This is the system, so a human asking to the machine, what is in this picture? How do they define the people on this wall? And the answer is they are defined as the Germans from the west and the Germans from the east. So it's context. So the machine has interpreted the actual meaning of the picture. It's not OCR anymore, right? And in order to achieve these results, we have announced a couple of weeks ago in Germany, in Berlin, with a company that has developed one of these large language models. We have announced the availability of a system that trains these large language models and is leveraging the software environment that we have developed. Actually, this is a pretty interesting machine. It's big, but it's not so big. One of the aspects of large language models is that you need a very big infrastructure to train these models, to pre-train these models, and this pre-training can cost easily tens of millions of dollars. Once you have this pre-trained model, though, then you can specialize this model into specific domains. And this is where we are going to see a lot of applications of these few large pre-trained models that are going to be deployed. And as I said, they're going to change. They're going to change many fields. Just to give you some examples, some further examples on the potential here. I'm not expecting you to read this, but this is an HP press release, right? With all the content in it and so on. And this is the press release related to the acquisition that we made last year of a company that develops a software to enable large scaling. It was called Determined AI. This is the press release that announces that HP has acquired Determined AI. So the question from the human to the machine is, what is the functionality determined is offering? And the machine is answering, Determined AI is an open source machine learning platform that accelerates time to production by removing the complexity of machine learning development. This sentence is not present in the press release. This is the machine that has understood the context and the content of the press release, right? Summarizing and presenting it. It's very common already in the publishing industry to have automated engines that generate short news simply by looking, for instance, in the financial world at the market, at the stock exchange, and how they move the parameters, and they generate small pieces of news. But here, we are talking about a machine that can interact at a much more sophisticated level. And then you can also make the system more complex and provide a more articulated answer. You can say, please summarize me the main content in 10 lines, something like that, like you do with a human. What's particularly interesting, and the reason why I'm saying this is the most disruptive technology, is that I was initially pretty skeptical. Then I started using it myself. And it is quite impressive. If you consider the investments, we are talking about billions of dollars of investments that all the major players are putting into this technology. In 5 years from now, a lot of applications where today humans are needed will be executed automatically. So I thought this was off, but anyway, so this is just a slide that describes more in detail the machine learning development environment. So the software tool that we provide in order to enable large scaling needed for large language models. But what I wanted to show is this. Large language models, they are usually based on text, like I showed before in the press release example. What's interesting about this technology that I was mentioning, this is developed by a German company that is called Aleph Alpha, is that their engine is multimodal. What it means that it can interpret images. And let me show you some examples. So you have a picture of a dog and some dirt stuff on the floor, on the carpet. And you ask, what caused the mess on the carpet? The machine replies, the dog. And here, what caused the mess on the carpet? The carpet was stained by a spilled drink. So that goes very, very far. And here, with traditional image recognition, you wouldn't be able to do that. No? So in this case, you have an apple. Okay, fine. This you can do with traditional computer vision. And here, what is this image? You see that the answer is an apple with a library sign on it, right? And goes farther. But there is in particular one example, this one, that is particularly interesting. You have here a map, a treasure map, right? And without training the system, you just put this image, and this is what I've been doing. You take images from Google, you show it to the machine, and then you ask to complete. And you see here, the treasure is buried in the old oak tree. So you only have a red cross here. There is no mention, no reference to a treasure. It's the machine that has understood that this is a treasure map, and the red cross most probably means that the treasure is there. Or here, you have images of artifacts, no? Something that doesn't exist, and you ask the machine to interpret what it is, no? And it does say it's the scorp with the Schowelzer on, right? It's able to understand also content that is not, that is based on artifacts. Last one with the multimodal modes that I want to show is also this one. You can give to the machine multiple images, right, and ask to extrapolate the context of all the images together. And you see here there is two pictures of the same car from different angles. So, and you ask, what is the difference in these images? And it does say the difference is the angle of view. The first image is from a low perspective, while the second one was taken at an elevated position to give you more detail in your viewing experience. No one was asking why, no? To give you more detail in your viewing experience. And as I said, sounds like prepared in advance, and obviously we can't show it here, but I'm playing with this every day, and the results are just amazing. Thinking about insurance companies, for instance, I was taking from Google images of car accidents, and it was able to understand what was the cause of the accident, which status of the airbags was, how the airbags were set, and all these other things, what type of damages, and so on and so on. In order to, I insist on one aspect. In order to achieve these results, these large language models, they use, we are now in the range of hundreds of billions of parameters in order to train these networks. And we are reaching a quite interesting level of accuracy. In order to achieve this, you need big systems. The problem is that you need, or let's say for us it's an opportunity, the problem is that you need big systems, not only to train the models, but also when then you need to put these models in production, and you want to have people interacting with it. Going back to Aleph Alpha, one of their customers is the city of Heidelberg, where basically the municipality is using this engine in order to provide a service to the citizens. In this case, it's specific to the subsidies, so people can check with the machine, okay, if I'm in this specific condition, what type of subsidies I have access to. And what they had to do was simply to use the pre-trained model, put in all the laws and rules and regulations related to the subsidies, and then the machine is providing the answer, and it's providing also the references to the laws and rules, regulations that determine the access to that. And when speaking with the mayor of Heidelberg, one question was, okay, but if you do this, then you don't have any more people doing it, no? So there is a risk for people to lose their jobs. And actually the answer from the mayor was quite interesting, because he said, with a system like this, we can serve thousands of citizens, right, tens of thousands, and he said it would be impossible to hire hundreds of people in order to handle all these requests. And I have a personal experience. I'm based in Italy during COVID, calling the healthcare national system. I mean, if you were lucky, you could get the line in 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever, no? During the spike of COVID. It was basically impossible. A technology like this would have allowed anyone to have access to the information. But obviously this requires infrastructure, but the technology is there. And I insist on the fact that we have developed everything that is needed from an infrastructure perspective, from the software stack, and also with the partnership and the experience we're getting with the large language models deployed at scale. Last mention. It's, let's say, different type of application, but the large language models are going to be the back end of the metaverse. So I just use this example and I will close with this. South Korea Telecom has introduced a metaverse for the Korean users that is called IFLand. And it's based on smartphones. So basically imagine that you have, I mean, on your smartphone you have an application, you can create your own virtual life and interact with people, all this through the smartphone. South Korea Telecom has signed, earlier this year, they have signed a partnership, a joint venture with Deutsche Telekom in Germany to bring IFLand to Germany. So the German users will be able to use the same metaverse as the Korean users. One of the interesting things of these large language models is that they are multi-language. So I can speak to this machine in English, and the machine can reply to me in Italian, or vice versa. So so what will happen in this case, Korean people will interact with German people, each one of them using their own language, but supposedly understanding each other. So this is just to show a little bit the potential of this technology, and I will close here.
Η επόμενη συζήτηση, κυρίες και κύριοι, θα είναι πάνω στην τεχνητή νοημοσύνη και το κατά πόσο επιδρά.
The next speech, ladies and gentlemen, concerns IA. We have Mr. Minas Kolisyanis with us. He will be online with us. He is the Data and Technology Transformation Leader of the ABM Consulting for Greece and Cyprus. I would also like to welcome Mr. Dritsis, who's an associate colleague of Mr. Kolisyanis. Good morning. I would like to welcome you on behalf of IBM in this two-day event of Beyond. Unfortunately, my colleague, Mr. Kolisyanis, due to COVID, he was not able to attend the meeting, but he will present his paper online. So I would like to welcome him and give him the floor. Good morning. I would like to thank you for the kind introduction. I'm very happy to be here, even online, even remotely. Technology allows us to do this, and we have done it a lot over the last 2 years. I hope that Beyond will be even stronger in the future, and that it becomes a brand name in this field in the next years. I would like to present you the opinion and the aspect of IBM related to artificial intelligence and a research that has been published by the IBM Institute for Business Value last month. This research is very important because, in fact, it reverses and it challenges some myths concerning artificial intelligence, because the initiative has been entering the business world in a very dynamic way. It is important to keep in mind not only the scientific value of artificial intelligence, but also its impact on how it can help organizations and companies to gain real business value. What I would like to share with you is that it's not only what people believe about artificial intelligence, but it's also reality. Although we think that artificial intelligence can do a lot of things, and this is true, the top management of many companies and organizations is still wondering how it can be helped and supported by artificial intelligence, what is the business value, and what are the benefits of artificial intelligence. So the IBM Institute for Business Value partnered with the MIT IBM Watson AI Lab, interviewed more than 35 organizations around the globe, and the findings are very impressive. First of all, it is remarkable, and it was said by the previous speaker, to what extent organizations are using AI on their daily operations from 2016 to 2022. We see that although 1 out of 4 organizations were using initiative by implementing pilots or improving implementations, now in 2022, more than 6 out of 10 organizations either implement projects or improve and optimize projects, AI projects. And the rest are evaluating, assessing, and they're trying to understand how AI can help them and support them in their operations. So we believe that in the following years, they will join this group of organizations using AI. Why is AI useful? On the one hand, companies are using it to optimize their costs, but it's not only this. The customer experience, the employee experience, the win rates of the companies, the way you can improve your supply chain. These are only few of the use cases where AI can be applied and can have significant benefits. On the other hand, if we go back to the focal topic of my presentation on the myths that have been created, let me summarize them. AI is a one-size-fits-all organizations. If it isn't deep learning, it isn't real AI. Cost reduction is AI sweet spot. Shortcuts don't work in AI, and AI only delivers value for the problem at hand. These are the myths that have been developed. Let's see the first myth. It is important to stress that it's not the way by which AI is applied. It's not a single. There's no single way or manner to apply AI in all organizations. It depends on the data, on the details, of the organization. It must be tailor-made, and before starting such an initiative, an organization must clarify two things. First of all, to make clear if it is a broader initiative of strategic importance, or AI is put in place in order to deal with a specific business problem. And then one should assess the data of the organization in order to be able to say that what we can do and what we cannot do with AI, because AI, any model you may use, needs the specific data in order to provide the targeted results. The second myth is from a scientific point of view, there's a long debate saying that if it isn't deep learning, it isn't AI. But what has practice shown? Practice has shown that what is important for the companies and the organizations is based on the problem they have to tackle every time. They have to combine practices and techniques that may range from simple data science techniques to traditional machine learning models, deep learning whenever required, but even techniques of pre-processing techniques, data pre-processing techniques if required. And this, in a previous study by the IBM Institute for Business Value, this study shows the wide range of the deep learning techniques used by organizations to tackle with business problems, starting from decision and random forest techniques, reaching out to very specialized techniques. Now, with regard to the cost, cost is a very important use case, but on the other hand, you will be surprised by what I'm going to show you. The main drivers and the areas where AI is most beneficial are related to growth, and this is shown here. You see that AI, these drivers are business growth drivers. The areas where AI provides and delivers increased value is customer satisfaction, customer retention, and customer acquisition. And this is so since 2016. On the other hand, we have been hearing that if one wants to gain benefit from such projects, you have to start from the beginning. You need to work on your own data. You have to build the models that apply for yourself. But this is gradually rejected and there's a wide range of pre-trained models that practically are a starting point for data scientists and the people who are dealing with AI. They can use these models instead of starting from a blank paper. So the market is moving towards this direction, and we will see this in the future. This, of course, has implications in the next finding that I'm going to show you. We always say that technology is not a barrier, and this has been shown by the IBV study in 2018, where we see that in 2016 AI may be a barrier, but this has dropped much lower because organizations back then were targeting and focusing on skills. Yes, skills are very important, but in 2020 it was shown that skills must be supported by the necessary technology that is specialized depending on the cases and the models used, what is pre-trained, what is not. So it's not only skills, a matter of skills. This is what the organizations have realized. They also need technology as well as other drivers and factors that you can see on the slide. I will conclude with the last myth, saying that AI, and this is the most important finding, AI does not only cater for the need of an organization to deal with a specific business problem. Many times, since there are ecosystems of organizations, and since there is a huge volume of data, we see that we have a triptych: data wealth, networks, and innovation strategy. These are all components of an organization. All these three components deliver added business value apart from the specific business problem that we are trying to manage. And I will conclude by what we see for the future. We see that the leaders of traditional organizations must get out of the nostalgic approaches, such as we're not going to reinvent the wheel, or this has been made by others and we have to reuse them. It's high time to innovate, to think, to build a concrete and solid infrastructure in order to differentiate themselves from the competition. And they must focus on the AI areas that will deliver real added value to the organization. So thank you very much. It was a short presentation, but my key message is what is what is the most important thing is what must be put in place in practice in order to be able to be benefited by the AI techniques. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Koulishianis, for being with us, virtually at least. May you get well soon. We can now move on with our program. The next speaker is Mr. Vasilis Kafatos from Deloitte. He will talk about talent and tech. The talent, tech and innovation ecosystem in Thessaloniki, a view forward. Good morning, dear friends. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to be with you today to share some thoughts about the day after on the technology ecosystem that has been formed in Thessaloniki recently. I would like to congratulate the Beyond organizers and to thank them for their invitation. This exhibition helps us to move forward, to go beyond.
to look at the future and look into issues that we didn't consider being feasible. Similarly, Thessaloniki recently has achieved important steps far beyond what was expected, and it has managed to attract big foreign investments, Greek startups, and to shape in this way gradually a dynamic ecosystem of knowledge, technology, and innovation. The city of Thessaloniki has top universities and research centers, several talented university graduates, excellent quality of life, and a society that becomes more and more open to new ideas. These characteristics of Thessaloniki have proven to be strategic competitive advantages in a world that keeps on changing, a world that trends change. Due to the pandemic, we have changed the way we live, communicate, and work, and the borders of talent and innovation are open. The new reality changes the terms of global competition. It abolishes geographic borders when we talk about talents. This gives opportunity to countries like Greece and Thessaloniki to take advantage of these talents and make leap forwards. These changes in the world market create opportunities for different models of partnership. Partnership among talented people that have totally different knowledge, view, background, and experiences. These people can work together from isolated and remote areas in order to find common solutions. Recognizing these opportunities, in 2018, we founded in Thessaloniki the Deloitte Competence Center, the first center for the development of skills and growth here in Thessaloniki, because we wanted to reverse brain drain that was very intense at that time and use the talent of Thessaloniki. In the last 3-4 years, we hire university graduates and we train them here, and we teach them how to use the Deloitte Center. 250 people work in our center today, and in the near future we are planning to hire and train additional 600 young employees. In our center we work closely with the top universities and research centers of the broader region in various fields, for example training seminars on innovative skills, on internship, absorption of graduates, and common innovation actions. At the same time, through the hybrid work model that we adopt and the new satellite offices that we have in Heraklion, Patras, and in other Greek cities soon, we give and offer the potential to use the talent that exists in the most remote areas of the Greek territory. So our center in Deloitte has important socioeconomic impact. By 2030, it is expected that it will bring important economic activity in Greece, amounting to 1.5 billion, and more than 10,000 people will be working there. So gradually, we can see that we have the Pfizer investment, and in this way it feeds a virtuous circle of development and growth for the city of Thessaloniki. The advantages of Thessaloniki have become visible worldwide, and new companies are thinking of entering the Greek local market. Chubb, the biggest insurance company in the world, selected Thessaloniki in order to create its new digital service center. It works closely with Deloitte in order to be established in the city and attract a great number of informatics specialist. Yesterday, Google announced the creation of 2 new excellence centers in Thessaloniki and in Patras in cooperation with Deloitte, focusing on sustainable growth and AI. The objective of this partnership is to develop solutions based on cloud and machine learning, and this will help organizations to achieve their sustainable goal growth and achieving resilience to climate change. So we see that both in Thessaloniki and in the rest of Greece, an important ecosystem of innovation is being developed. It has the necessary prerequisites in order to become larger, attract more investments, and become a recognized hub of knowledge, technology, and innovation worldwide. Towards this goal, and trying to have a look at the future, to get future ready, as it is the title of this year's Beyond, we acknowledge that there are 2 critical factors of success. The first one is partnership, cooperation, and the other one is talent. I have mentioned these 2 words several times already. The fundamental precondition for success is open and close cooperation among the ecosystem members, creating a spirit of partnership and fertile exchange of knowledge and ideas among businesses and young entrepreneurs, the academia, and the broader society. Cooperation schemes among companies like the ones that I've mentioned, Deloitte, with Pfizer, with Chubb, with Google, are a catalyst of sustainable growth for the city in order to become an international hub of innovation and technology. Respectively, another critical factor, an equally critical factor, is the adequacy and sufficiency of well-trained and qualified human capital to train to the skills of the future. In this new reality where we have new conditions happening, talent has become the most precious and valuable resource. Skills like adaptability, flexibility, and critical thinking, as well as knowledge of exponential technologies, are proven to be the most basic skills for the day after. At the same time, the National Resilience Plan and the access of digital training is an important priority and is financed by the Recovery Fund. This is a unique opportunity in order to safeguard the adequate number of talented people. So I would like to conclude with these two thoughts of mine about the following day of technology and innovation in Thessaloniki. Emphasis on open partnerships among businesses, universities, and the society. And secondly, focusing on talent and on the adequacy of talents through training on the future skills based on a world that changes radically and much faster than we can perceive. Thank you very much.
Από εδώ, με ακούτε? Ωραία. Καλημέρα.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Vasilis Samorkas. I'm an editor at Fortune, and we will open the panels for today with a panel on AI, the evolving landscape, opportunities and risk. We will be talking with Mr. Stefanos Kollias, who's a professor of computer and electrical engineering at UA, Mr. Athanasios Karakoudas, who's an associate professor and director of Intelligent Systems Laboratory at the University of Thessaly, and Mrs. Tassos Koutlas, who's a deputy VP Digital Solutions Europe, FFW.
Εγώ είμαι από εδώ. Τότε... Με όποια σειρά θέλετε. Δεν υπάρχει θέμα.
Κάτσε, κάθομαι εγώ εδώ.
Ναι.
Εγώ εδώ. Ναι.
Καλημέρα σας και ευχαριστούμε πολύ που...
Good morning. We would like to thank you for being here. So, starting from AI, half a century later, the voice of James Earl Jones, the person who gave his voice to Darth Vader. So the voice of Darth Vader goes to AI. So the machines have won. We have heard a previous presentation on the risks and the myths related to AI. Every time we are experiencing an industrial revolution like the fourth one that we're experiencing right now, such questions of risks and fears are raised, especially with regard to jobs. Would you like to tell me if you believe that we should talk about such risks or not? Good morning. We would like to thank you for the invitation. It is very interesting to talk about this topic. I would like to say something that I'm saying to my students. AI today is not the general artificial intelligence that we can forecast what will happen in the future. So a system that will do everything. AI today, as used by researchers in the industry, is narrow. It is narrow. This means that we develop systems that make a specific task or a range or a number of tasks very effectively. So the risks do not concern what we see in the films, that is autonomous systems that decide on their own, or they cooperate with each other and they rely on their decisions. The main duty today is to use AI in order to make our work more effectively and efficiently. So we see that people and processes
processes are replaced. Humans, for example, are now have to handle equipment in order to perform a task or a duty. For example, the BBC said that they will fire 300 employees. The idea behind all this is that the need for skills there will be a necessity for specific skills in order to be able to adjust to this procedure. You said that we have to rely on our own experiences. So from my experience, from my point of view, I believe that AI, the way that Mr. Kollas defined it, the only thing that it can do is to offer new jobs. Because in the university where I work and in the research centers where I work, we are the tool makers. We develop tools, so new jobs are created. So AI is a tool that we develop. It is a narrow tool. And this way we find new applications, new areas where this tool can be applied and used. Young people who are finding a way out in order to be able to work in competitive fields and sectors and with very high salaries, they choose to focus on AI. But even elder researchers are turning to AI. These are tools that anyone can use in order to improve his position, his place in the market or in the research field. For example, I come from the integrated systems ecosystem. The pavilion next door is full of these companies. You can see that these are the same companies that were participating in similar fairs and shows, and although they did not have AI, however, they adapted themselves to these new requirements. They have integrated AI in their tools, and they have developed new tools with AI. For example, you use AI when you develop a tool, and AI can help you find and identify mistakes and errors. So this way you make your employees more effective, and so employees can put their own personal touch. So let's not see AI as a negative thing. Let's see what are the assets and the benefits that it provides to us as a tool. There is no bad or good AI. It depends on the way you use it. I will represent industry. There will be some fields that will be affected by the AI. Let's not forget that the payroll cost in a company is inelastic. So of course this will affect employees, and I'm sure that there will be many changes in many industrial sectors when AI will be fully included in the productive process. So up to now, at this moment, there's the risk to replace or to reduce jobs in specific sectors, highly skilled employees. For example, a bank has credit risk analyzers, but when there will be an engine that can immediately solve 100 such cases, you will not need 100 analyzers. You will only find 5 analyzers. This means that highly skilled employees will not be needed anymore. So we have to take this into account. The second point that I would like to raise is that the industry will always exercise pressure and will always want and be eager to adopt more high technology. In the past, nobody cares about privacy and confidentiality, etc. Abroad, for example, where I work, in 90% in the CIOs and CMOs agenda, they only want a data policy and how they are going to implement and a strategy to implement solutions. So the industry will continue exercising pressure, and I believe that the state and the universities must take a detailed look at all this. Where Greece stands in terms of the application of such technologies, we have seen the operation of this supercomputer Daedalus. What is going to what this is going to give us, to offer us? I believe that Greece has entered in this framework of using machine learning techniques and AI techniques in order to provide more effectively its services and products. Since I participate in assessments provided of companies to give the awards that are given every year, I have seen in the last years very good products that are using our technology of a startup or a company that develops an algorithm or repurposes, adjusts an algorithm, collects data and produces a product that can be used to control any kind of problem. This means that companies using this procedure are now dealing with and have been implementing this process. On the other hand, the state is trying to establish the regulatory framework, because the regulatory framework says that if a company is using AI technologies, this must be traceable, it must be identifiable, it must not affect the interests of the staff, etc. So this means, what does it mean when we say that I use AI technology? On what data? How is this whole procedure monitored? So the state, within the European framework, is trying to establish a trustworthy structure, and within this context, the state is moving forward. We have the first regulatory framework that is going to be updated all the time, because the problems and the risks and everything, the technology was going to evolve. So the regulatory framework will also evolve. So the state is working on this to this end. In the private and the public sector, we're trying to identify which services can be supported with the use of AI. For example, the digital transformation uses AI. So I believe that all fields are moving forward. Daedalus is an infrastructure that Greece, and we are supervising this venture. So we are using a supercomputer of middle scale supercomputer that can be used for research, but it can also be used by companies that want to run complicated applications. So these companies will have the opportunity to use the potential of this infrastructure in order to gain results more easily without having to use Google, for example. So this is a very important infrastructure for Greece, because it places Greece among the technologically advanced European countries, and it of course will provide support to companies. Now there's a hub, high performance computing and artificial intelligence hub that is working and gives results. Tell us about that. and how can it be used otherwise elsewhere? It is in Lamia right now, and I think Trikala wants to use similar technologies. I cannot talk about Trikala because I may make a mistake, and I don't want to undermine or to underestimate their venture, their efforts. Now, as for Lamia, we have understood too soon that the academic community and the research world in Greece is developing fastly, rapidly, and the resources from EDITE were very few. And the president of EDITE said exactly the way how we are escalating in order to reach the current level. So if there was no effort, if we haven't tried that hard, we would not be able to claim and take Daedalus. But I believe that apart from the national level, we have to focus on the regional level as well. So there was an order by the region. They said that we want to create our own computer cluster that will be used as so that the research carried out and the results to be applied immediately, directly to the region of Sterea Lava. So we have created Para-ICT. This is the name of this hub, and in strategic collaboration with two very big international companies, we have received the equipment. The important component, however, are the data that we collect from sensors that are dispersed in numerous points of interest. For example, in the city of Lamia, we collect data on air quality, etc. And through AI models, we identify and we see if there's a concentration that in the past was associated or connected with the increase of pulmonary disease cases in our hospitals. So this releases an alert to these patients so that they can be more careful. So we have created a new job without losing a job, because we needed someone to collect all this data and process them. So it's something totally different. We are also collaborating with companies from the ecosystem of Patras in order to receive smart meters and to be able to control and monitor whatever is happening in the municipal and public buildings. This way we can have real-time data, and since processing will be carried out on the hub, it will be completed very quickly. And many other applications that we are developing in terms of production, etc. And two more things that are two top concerns for all of us. First, climate crisis and energy crisis. Smart technologies and smart cities that we're going to elaborate on later on will give some answers. This is why I talked about health and energy, and it is very interesting that since everything is located on a single mega computer, we have all this open data so that the citizen can be able to evaluate, to assess, and to see, and we can safeguard transparency so that there is no problem on where have we found all this data. Here, the data are available to everybody. So, Mr. Koutras, we talked about operations and application of all this, but I will say that globalization, either we like it or not, runs very fast. The faster the technologies are developing, the faster globalization happens. So what is the place, what is the position of Greek companies in such a competitive world environment? So I believe that there are two levels. that we have to focus on. First of all, Greek companies, in order to be more competitive and to have competitive advantages, they must go abroad. They must face this competition abroad. So if there is a company in Greece that develops software for remote meetings, cannot face Zoom if they stick and they stay only in the Greek market. They have to go abroad. Artificial intelligence is a parameter that can provide and deliver competitive advantages to companies on two levels. First, on the level of the companies that are developing AI and sell them as a product, or the large companies that are using AI models in order to produce competitive advantages. So especially in this second part, there are three main risks. There are three main factors that we have to take into account. First of all, a company must decide what is the added value and what is the competitive advantage that it wants to achieve by using AI models. This is very important because at this point, a very low percentage of companies have managed to use AI in their production process, and 1 out of 5 of them cannot estimate the added value provided and delivered by AI in their production process. The second part is that there's an underestimation of the complexity. The complexity of the process and the complexity of putting AI model in place in the productive procedure. And many times the rhetoric that is adopted by AI developers is overestimated. So we have to be careful. And the last thing I would like to say is data are the key source for an AI model. What has been observed in the industry is that many pilot projects cannot be applied in the productive procedure because they have not solved the data problems, that is integration, confidentiality, security, etc. So my advice would be, if someone is considering using an AI model in the productive process, you have to focus on data from the beginning. So you may have to create middleware APIs in order to automate the recording, the harmonization of data, and to be able to use data later on. You talked about inclusion and integration, and I would like to conclude this panel with a very short comment from all of you. What do you believe? How do you see the speed by which technology is evolving will not? Do you believe that this speed will leave behind those who are not familiar with these technologies or who are technologically illiterate? I would like to say two things. As we're talking about technicians who are using AI technologies and how we are communicating, how is the ministry trying to achieve what you say. So from the technology point of view, the emphasis and the focus on the next 6 to 7 years will be on auto ML. This means that there will be platforms enabling the users to make things easier, so that the user does not need to know, to be familiar with technology. So they will become more user-friendly. We will not need a lot of learning. You will only have to download something, a model on your PC, and the model will, you don't need you will select a few parameters, and so these models will be more user-friendly. So technology will help people. And on the other hand, we have the skills and the involvement of users in upskilling activities. either in the context of a company or of the public sector, etc. So these are the two focal points. We have observed, everybody, I think, that society is afraid of technology. They are afraid of technology because when they are familiar with the specific manner they're working, they don't, and they take the results, they don't want to change the way by which they work. So, in the pandemic, we saw that many people, it's part of evolution. Everybody started to adjust. We managed to go through this pandemic. I'm still telling my mother that she should not post on the social media all the time. So I'm a hardware specialist. We are developing smart devices. When these smart devices have the potential to help us in our daily life, then we are welcoming them. And since we're welcoming them, they're becoming part of our life, and everybody is going to use it as well because they see that everybody's using it. So upskilling can come from being trained or by imitating what the others are doing. So if we create these smart devices, we will make the system. We will create a system in such a manner that AI will be welcomed by everybody because they will be able to realize the benefit. So, Mr. Kudlas, you believe that AI will make us love AI? Yes, I'm sure. We cannot avoid it. The more life goes on, more new services will be integrated. I will focus on what Mr. Kutla said about the framework, the context. I will give you 3 examples related to AI. Imagine a model of artificial intelligence of autonomous driving resulting in a death. When can we say that the model is ready to be used by the industry? Who is in charge of it? Who is responsible? Is it the company that has the model? Is it the company that provided the data for the training of the model? Or is it the company that applied the model? So another example. Let's say that there's a bank that has a model that rejects the application for a loan to a citizen unfairly. So the bank is losing a client, but there is also, the consumer and the citizens is not protected. So there was no reason for his loan to be rejected. And a third, a social or political issue. Imagine a model for a citizen who is living in a lower quality area, gives him a higher credit limit in his credit card because the model believes that he will not be able to pay his debts. This, of course, raises some social issues and equality issues. So I believe that AI will enter our life, but the framework must be established because industry is moving forward rapidly. You saw the model that was presented by the first speaker, that is the model that is summarizing the news, for example. So there we see that there are some meta ideas created. So thank you very much all. Thank you very much.
Πολύ ενδιαφέρουσα η συζήτηση.
The discussion was very interesting. And now we move on with Mr. Nicola Simeon, who is Customer Success Manager in Intrust. He will be talking about defying the AI era.
Γεια σας και από εμένα.
Hello. I'm Nicola Simeon, Customer Success Manager for Intrust. I will talk about the AI era using IBM technologies. We live at a time of radical growth. In this world of AI, it's not enough to go hand in hand with a constantly changing technology. With IBM, we focus on helping our people to achieve their business plans. For example, IBM Power Systems that gives the possibility to IBM to have a novel expansionable infrastructure that can process a huge number and volume of data in an effective manner. The application tool portfolio of IBM is designed in such a way so that it reduces cost and barriers of adopting AI and optimizes its benefits. The Watson technology rationalizes the way that businesses work and provides leaps for productivity, and it is safe to work to be used in any cloud. I would like to focus on three sectors in which technology has made remarkable progress. It is language, automation, and location. Concerning language, Watson understands the language of your business, of your company. Processing physical natural language allows Watson to analyze complicated data and even terminology of specific industry. So we can take more well-documented decisions and provide better services. Automation. Watson rationalizes the way businesses operate and provides leaps for productivity. It makes automatic any form of work. It increases comparative advantages. It gives solutions for the lack of specialized personnel and gives the staff the possibility to focus on creating value. Location. Watson operates in a safe manner in any cloud. It is supported by OpenShift, and in this way we have a unified projection of data, more cohesion and flexibility, and more consistency. Intrust, in cooperation with IBM, recognizes and acknowledges the challenges that our clients have to face. As a result, we have aligned our products and services in order to help them overcome these challenges and prosper in these unpredictable times. Through Data Fabric, businesses can do three things. First of all, they can promote agility with data management, with productivity. Secondly, they can predict the outcome based on business analytics and to be prepared for the forthcoming challenges based on AI. Thirdly, they can personalize the experiences with customer care by using all customer channel communication. Hybrid multi-cloud. The full compatibility between, the full synergy between multi-cloud and informatics is hybrid cloud. An open hybrid cloud is based on an open code architecture. It provides agility. It uses your architecture, regardless of its type. The main values derive from these 5 fundamental categories. First of all, increased business acceleration. Secondly, higher programmability, improved risk management, and long-term strategic agility. The next cloud chapter has to do with the positive approach of this hybrid model for the 80% of the business applications that haven't moved there. This starts with the use of open models. Open models like containers and Kubernetes provide an open way of development within or outside premises. So you can move your workload freely and optimize them on the right cloud infrastructure. The open code will be the foundations for accelerating development. And it will have to do with safe access to data within premises and outside premises, within clouds, and higher levels of automation in order to acquire new information. I'd like to talk about OpenShift, Red Hat OpenShift now. IBM and Red Hat make a hybrid cloud possible. IBM uses the open code architecture that relies on OpenShift in order to make possible hybrid cloud. OpenShift is one of the strongest and most powerful platforms with full stack automated operations, optimized for innovation and productivity. IBM and Red Hat together provide one of the most comprehensive and expansible cloud platforms in the market today. When it is implemented, it includes enterprise infrastructure. With OpenShift, you have a single operation system of container that allows you to use them anywhere in your infrastructure. This means that in the whole multi-cloud environment, an open hybrid approach is created that gives a great extent of agility because it is independent from the supplier. And let's move on now to talk about Water Underground. This is a product that we have made in Entrust. It is an artificial intelligence product made by our company. It has to do with clean water and environment improvement. Today, in the environment, there is a rapid decrease of clean water due to the factories, human intervention. Our solution is the following. We monitor underground waters in every drill. We send the data in the cloud, we process them using AI, and so we can understand how the aquifer operates in order to predict what is going to happen in the near and distant future. You can see the map as well. And here you can see the software.
Στην εφαρμογή υπάρχει και ένα κομμάτι το οποίο δείχνει report.
In this application, there is a report. For drills, we made an IoT device with smart sensors. The technology that is used includes central architecture based on IBM Cloud, edge computing, back-end processing, storage in the cloud, machine learning analytics, cloud computing. We have also used IBM Watson tools for the analysis and prediction of data. This solution is chosen. It was chosen as one of the 4 finalists in Europe in a UN competition for the environment. Entrust is the company within which we develop this kind of solutions and many others. We have got a lot of certifications concerning AI and machine learning, and we are specialized in many applications in our sector and in industry, among others. Entrust creates unique solutions of automation, comprehensiveness, and AI management using hybrid cloud IBM technology. It guarantees the quality and safety that contemporary market demands. I would like to thank you for your attention. We're waiting to see you at our stand in Pavilion 16. Thank you very much.
Ευχαριστούμε πολύ, κύριε Σιμεών.
Very much, Mr. Simeon. Uncertainty is one of the main characteristics of the era. However, everybody is focusing now on energy crisis and the environmental risks. So our next speech will address the issue of technology and how technology can respond to the energy crisis. So we will have with us Mr. Athanasios Mavakas, who is the Smart Grids Director at the Intracom Telecom. The title of the next speech is The Energy Crisis and the Technology to Respond. Thank you. Good morning. First of all, I would like to say that I will make my presentation in English.
First of all, I would like to apologize for this little trick that I'm playing on you. I'm trying to warm up your brain to be ready for what we're going to talk in a moment. And I'm listening to all these great presentations that are talking today about AI, data. I have some bad news. And the bad news is that without energy, nothing of this will work. So it's great to talk about servers and data and AI, but my friends, we really have to look into energy in order to be sustainable. And before I start, I would like to start with a little story from the ancient Greek mythology of the Titan Prometheus. Prometheus was a Titan, and he stole the secret of fire from the gods, and he gave it to the humans. And that angered Zeus a lot, and he punished Prometheus, because Zeus realized that he who has the secret of energy is able to become better, to advance, and be liberated from the demands of the gods. And today, our life is intertwined with energy. Without it, I mean, it won't work. Nothing what we're doing will work. The lights, your phone, the medical expenses, your car, the clothes you wear are made using energy. Everything would just shut down. And we need to make sure that we keep providing this energy supply to keep our civilization moving. But we also need to protect our environment and the planet we live in. It has to be sustainable. And I was here at the same podium 1 year ago, September, I think, last year. And I was talking about this problem. And we had a huge spike in energy prices last year. Do you remember it? And it wasn't due to the war. The war came afterwards. So this energy crisis is a systemic problem. It's not only a problem that is being enhanced due to the war in Ukraine. It's a systemic problem, something we're going to face in the next years. And we need to really realize and understand how we're going to solve it. And where are we today, 1 year later? Well, things have gone much, much worse. And as we're going to talk about, we're going to maybe find a way around it. A few things about us. First of all, my name is Athanasios Vamvakas. I'm working for Intercom Telecom. I work in the energy field, so I provide customers with whatever they need in order to solve this problem that we're talking. And you may have heard about our company before. Intercom Telecom is in the business for almost 45 years. What you don't know is that we do almost 70% of our activities outside of Greece. And we employ about 1,800 people. We invest heavily in R&D and production, and we also have 16 subsidiaries worldwide. So, for example, we have in Europe, America, South Africa, Dubai, wherever the customer needs us, we're there. And Intercom Telecom is a company that came from the telecom business. It's in our nature. But combining telecom with IT, we also realized that there is a big, big opportunity for us in the energy field. So in the last years, we are really strongly investing, and we've now reaping back this. We become a very strong player in the energy business. And we provide, for example, renewables to our customers so they can produce their own energy and reduce the cost. We are one of the leaders in the smart meter business, providing a lot of smart meters to customers. In mobility, we participate in a lot of research funds. We're very active. So, what's going to happen this year? Do we all need to go buy winter clothes? Let's have a look. Well, before we start, we need to define what an energy crisis means. And it means three things. First, the lack of energy. There's no energy to open the lights, to turn the lights on, to heat your home. Two, the cost of energy. It's too expensive to use it. It is, it's not sustainable. And the third thing, which I'm sure most of you haven't thought about, is the energy mix. When you're depending on only one resource to get the energy you need, you're in problems, you're in trouble. As for example, with gas. We depended in Europe a lot of gas. There's a turbulence in that area, in that sector, and now we're all in big trouble. So why should I care? Well, the lack of energy is a big, big problem, especially for people that live in cold countries like the north of Europe. And the question people are start thinking now is, are we able to warm our houses? Will we be able to warm our houses? It's a difficult question, because until now it was for certain. You take it for granted that you will be able to warm your houses. Will that be happening or not? And what about the cost? This is the August data from Europe. 9.1% of the inflation. That is absolutely insane. And if you look at the data a little bit more carefully, you look at that and you see that energy represents a 38.9% increase year after year. And because we use energy, as I said before, for everything, for your food, for your transportation, for your clothes, for your PCs, for your data, for whatever, it brings out the price everywhere. The third part is the energy mix. This is the map of electricity maps, and it shows the mix around the world. And where it's green it means that we're using less carbon intensive, like renewables. And when it's brown, it shows that you're using carbon intensive, like coal. Unfortunately, Europe is not ready yet. You can have a look yourself. If we drill down to Greece, you will see that we're doing a great job in the past years, moving towards renewables, towards more hydro, really great job, but it's not enough. Unfortunately, if you look at the bottom left, you will see that gas still represents a huge part of our energy mix. And we really need to find ways around it. And as a government and as a country, we're trying now to move back again to lignite and things like that. Why should you care? This is the Air Quality Life Index. The Air Quality Life Index measures worldwide how many years you would live more if where you are follows the WHO guidelines for air pollution. So if you're living in a very polluted place, then this metric will tell you how many years you would live. And we are in the north of Greece. So in the north of Greece, West Macedonia, you would live 1 year more. Can you understand that? It's really shocking. And this data is up to 2020. With the year is 2022 and people are chopping woods outside in order to be ready for the winter and their fireplaces. And why should we be interested about that? Air pollution, particulate air pollution, is the biggest threat to human health today. It kills more people than smoking. If you live in a very polluted area, you have more chances of dying of this than smoking. It's so big a problem. So what can we do? Shall we fill up the world with renewables? Shall we move back to nuclear? The second picture is from Japan. And you remember in Japan the Fukushima Daiichi incident a few years ago. Japan is moving back to nuclear. It's moving back to nuclear. And I'll tell you, I'll give you a hint about it in a moment. Should we go back to coal, hydro, gas? What's the options we have here? Oh, this is a trick. I have a question for you. What do you think is the energy source that kills the less people per electricity consumption unit? It's nuclear. It's nuclear. And we really need to start thinking about that. Wind, solar, nuclear, the best solutions according to the new studies. Now, that's the energy crisis. What can we do as a technology? Well, if you're on a macro level, if you're a government, if you're a network operator or electricity operator, you need to look into smart grids. And what smart grids is really is looking at your entire infrastructure, gathering data, getting insight, and based on those insights, being able to do actions. And we're very proud as a company, we're also participating in the next tender that the Hellenic Network Operation and Energy Distribution Network Operator, HEDNO, is running, and we'll be very honored to help them into achieving their goals. But if you are a factory, what can you do? How can you ensure you have energy in order to produce your goods? This is one of our customers. They're installing, and as you see the video, this is also some of my colleagues. They're installing a 1.7 megawatt PV panel on top of their rooftop in order to become energy almost independent. This is the way to go. You have to do it now. Not for the next years, you have to do it now. You have to start investing in this now. And if you're a house, if I'm an individual, what can I do? Well, it's the same principle. Try to be self-producing, self-sustainable. Use PV panels on your rooftop. If you can't, if you live in a block of flats and you don't have access to your own rooftop, try to be more conscientious about how you can measure what energy consuming, the appliances, which is costing you more, which is more unsustainable. How can we help you? Well, Intercom Telecom has the entire circle of solutions for this. Renewables, smart meters, energy management. I mean, anything you need, we're here. Before I close, I would like to say that what we're noticing today on energy will not only be on energy. The same problem will be with food and water. This picture is from Singapore. Singapore is trying to become, as an island, self-sustainable, to produce its own food, to consume its own water. And it's really, really, really It's a really incredible effort. We all need to go down this way. So, is this winter going to be bad or not? Personally, I think it's going to be difficult, but we're going to be okay. And maybe even have a little bit fun with the weather. Thank you so very much. Have a nice day.
Καλημέρα. Καλημέρα.
Morning. I'm Vangelis Mavdravelis. I'm a journalist. I've been dealing with informatics for many years. We started with informatics and then we moved on to AI. We'll talk about the value of big data. We have three guests. Mrs. Rizou from Singular, Mr. Panagos from Performers and Mr. Karistinos from Unisystems. We are talking about big data that will be used by great companies. I'll start with our first lady speaker. And I'd like to ask her the following. Are Greek companies capable of using big data? There are 90,000 SMEs in Greece. So when we talk about big data, we bring in mind big insurance companies, big companies. So what's the situation? Thank you. I believe that big data don't have to do only with big businesses, but also with SMEs and the whole of the society to an extent, because we all produce data in the general ecosystem. It has been understood by now that it's extremely important to provide a basis upon which we will build up the so-called smart solutions and provide data or data in a way that will safeguard their quality and their best use by a great number of tools. In every field of technology, there are innovators who become early adopters, and there is a greater adoption at every stage, and then we have the early majority stage. I come from R&D, and I contact daily the innovators, that is businesses, either small or big, that dare to go forward and launch and test new products and solutions concerning big data. In recent years, I believe a great progress has been made in our country. There are several businesses, both SMEs and startups, that derived from universities and have started creating a profile in this field. In general, I believe that the momentum is being created today for SMEs as well, because as you mentioned, it's harder for SMEs to keep up with this development, because they must find a clear return of investment. That is, to find out a way to use these solutions in order to produce more information and more profit for them. To conclude, I believe that there is a general momentum in Greece and in Europe in general that helps us, to consolidate big data. Recently, the EU voted for the Data Act that creates a legislative framework for their usage. And data spaces have started being created. That is, the virtual spaces that data will be managed by companies in Europe. All these create a momentum, and more businesses will enter this rationale and will try to see what they will do with the data, how they will manage them and make value of them, and how they can provide and offer them to other businesses and agencies in order to further improve their products. Therefore, big data address the whole business community, right? Not only big companies. Yes, correct. They address the whole business community and the society to an extent, because several times we can see that citizens and users produce data themselves. That's the basis to start with. So I believe they address everybody, SMEs included. Mrs. Rizou is the R&D manager of Singular Logic. And now, let's move on to Mr. Karistinos. A great amount of funds comes from abroad, from the new NSRF 21-27, and from the recovery fund. And Mr. Skylakakis said that we have submitted our proposal, and so on. Will these funds be used for your field, that is for big data, or for other more classical applications, ERT, CRMs, and so on? Yes, we see that there is a trend, a big trend of digital transformation, both in the public and private sector. What is happening is the following. Everybody tries to find a way to modernize their applications, to automatize their procedures. So everybody tries to find a way to move better in the market where they operate. In this field, we see that NSRF and the Recovery Fund and other similar funds provide incentives all the time. So we move away from the infrastructure and we focus on finding a way to place ourselves better vis-a-vis our customers if we are private sector, or citizens if we are from the public sector. So the EU funds announce actions that have to do with data and their better usage. For example, the Information Society consultation that shows the way where the Greek society, and not only the Greek society, wants to move. the private businesses can use the great amount of data that they have. The incentives are there, technology is there, and if we see the great investments being made in Greece, we see that all the ingredients are there. So what is left is for people to take these opportunities and the information they have, either classical CRM and so on, or use machine learning, AI, and benefit from there. Are these two funds a great opportunity for our country? I believe that after a long period of introversion, this is a big opportunity that we have started taking advantage of. During the pandemic, we saw the great leap that the public sector has made. Yes, we find ourselves at the right moment in time. We have the tools, so we should use all these tools to move on to the day after. Mr. Karistinos is Solution Manager and Big Data Analytics in Unisystems. I should have introduced you at the beginning. My mistake. I apologize. Mr. Panagos. Right now, there are several companies and businesses talking about AI. What do you feel? Does the Greek ecosystem have the technology in order to pass this technology to the other businesses? Do you have the human resources, the potential in order to pass this technology to Greek businesses? You are right. Greek businesses recently have been flirting with AI and machine learning. The technologies and the tools that people operate have developed greatly. So yes, we can manage all this volume of data, as the previous speaker said. We do have the trained personnel that we businesses try to find. These personnel come from Greek universities. There are a lot of university labs organized by international companies, both in Piraeus University and in Thessaloniki University. IBM has got the IBM Watson Lab. This is something that is being invested on by all companies, and young graduates move to this direction, and I'm sure that the Greek market will have the right personnel. The tools are there. They are much simpler than they were in the past, but undoubtedly, if you want to use the knowledge that exists in big data, you need the right people. And no matter how good the tools are, if human beings cannot explain what is in there, you can't make the right decision. One more question to everybody. Recently, a lot of initiatives have been made. The Pfizer Data Center, the Deloitte Center, and all this. What do you think of these initiatives, and what can they offer us? Undoubtedly, this is very good because they use Greek personnel. As Deloitte said, they already have 960 data scientists who are Greek working there. They also bring foreign know-how, that is know-how from abroad, that is more advanced than us. So these are important steps that strengthen the market. You deal with people that have to do with R&D. Some people say we have a lot of graduates but few engineers. But this means that university graduates are of low level. What is the reality? Some other people claim that Greek graduates are the best all over the world. I remember in a Delphi Forum panel, a speaker said, we have a call to recruit people and this is for 40 people and we have only 20 applications. What's the reality? I believe that Greek human capital is of high level and university graduates are of very good level. And this can be proven because many of them go abroad, they have a good career there, and some of them will decide to come back. Efforts have been made in order to bridge the gap between what the market needs in practice and the skills cultivated in universities. Previous speakers mentioned that education should be considered as lifelong learning. That is, as you move on in your career, you should continue being trained in order to keep up with changes. I believe that we do have the right human force and human resources, but we must also organize human training programs so that the university graduates that have no experience, they could be trained in order to enter the labor market, and those who are already part of the labor market, they could be upskilled or reskilled in order to adjust their skills to the needs that exist. We also need domain experts from all fields because they will contribute to become data analysts in order to extract the knowledge from big data. Digital skills and analytic skills should be offered and taught to informatics graduates, but in all sectors, because new entrepreneurs should be trained in order to be able to interpret the data and make the right decisions according to the data that we have. Mr. Karistine, SMEs are the backbone of the Greek economy. If a startup comes to you, what would you advise them? Would you send them to a data center to operate from there, or would you tell that company to create an information system in their company? I'm not talking about what would be ideal. But what is the best solution? We must see who the company addresses and what is the vision. There is a huge trend towards cloud services, so SMEs don't have to invest in cloud. That's an opportunity for these businesses because very shortly, with low cost, they can have an advantage in the market in order to serve their customers. We believe that, yes, cloud can help businesses to serve their needs, and depending on the range they want to cover, we can find hybrid models. But if we have a small family business, what is needed is a good education and knowledge. They should know what they want to do. There are companies, technology companies, that can support them to do their job immediately, and further on, in cooperation with people who are more informatics competent, they can move on better. Thank you very much. We have no more time. I hope that our discussion was enlightening for you. Thank you very much.
Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ για την ωραία συζήτηση. Τώρα, με κάθε γενιά τεχνολογίας επικοινωνιών, η εστίαση του δικτύου αλλάζει. Στην εποχή του 6G, ο ανθρώπινος, ο φυσικός και ο ψηφιακός κόσμος θα συγχωνευτούν απρόσκοπτα για να πυροδοτήσουν εξωστρετηριακές εμπειρίες. Ας καλωσορίσουμε στο βήμα τον... Μισό λεπτάκι, με συγχωρείτε. Τον κύριο Μιχάλη Ματθαίου. Ωραία. Δεν πειράζει, θα κάνουμε ένα μικρό διάλειμμα μέχρι να βρούμε τον κύριο Μιχάλη Ματθαίου και να επανέλθουμε. Ευχαριστούμε πολύ. Είμαστε εδώ. Ωραία. Κάποια παρεξήγηση. Κύριε Μιχάλη Ματθαίου, μπορείτε να έρθετε στο βήμα. Είναι καθηγητής επικοινωνιών και επεξεργασίας σήματος στο Πανεπιστήμιο Queen's του Belfast. Ευχαριστούμε πολύ, κύριε Ματθαίου. Σας βρήκαμε τελικά.
Ευχαριστώ. Λοιπόν, καλημέρα και από μένα. Ευχαριστώ πολύ για την πρόσκληση.
Morning. I would like to thank you for the kind invitation. I'm from Thessaloniki, but I have been living in North Ireland for many years now. I'm a professor at Communications Engineering and Signal Processing at Queen's University of Belfast. A few words about our university. Belfast is the capital of Northern Ireland. We're part of the United Kingdom. The university is the 9th oldest university in the United Kingdom. It has been established in 1845 by the ancestor of Queen Elizabeth. So Thessaloniki has 90,000 students. We are much smaller, but we are the top 1% of universities in the world in all rankings, and we are number 1 in the United Kingdom in terms of the transfer of knowledge transfer. We were equal to Oxford University, but we are now ranking higher than them. So one of my roles is working at the center. I'm an associate director of the CWI, that is the Center for Wireless Innovation. It is one of the largest such centers in the United Kingdom. We have 55 people working in this center. We are in the top 75 of such centers in the world, and based on the size and the scale of the university, I believe that this is a great achievement. So these are some of our colleagues, our partners. You can identify some very big brands such as Ericsson, Huawei, Nokia. We're always collaborating with the research branch of the Ministry of Defense. Many big brands you can see here. We are also collaborating with the research committee, Space Committee, the European Space Agency, and with Kinetic. Now, a few words about myself. I'm a professor at Queen's. My research area is in the interface of these aspects, so signal processing, wireless communication theory, and electromagnetic theory. I have received funding that is very important of €2 million in order
order to develop solutions for 6G. History review on the phone communications. We have to go back in the 80s, where the first generation of mobile phones, 1G, was launched in the USA and Japan. So each generation of cell phones has a 10-year period of establishment. And then we have 20 years for its commercial exploitation. So we are talking about 30 years that is the duration of the generation. We are now not in the 5G. We started working on 5G in 2011, and the first 5G network was in South Korea at the end of 2019. And more countries are now starting to implement 5G networks. Why is 5G important? For two main reasons. 5G is introducing two families of applications that were not available before 5G. The first one are the applications of low latency and very high reliability. And then the second group of applications are the applications for massive machine-type communications for millions of users per square kilometer. So we want, in 5G, we want a latency of less than 1 millisecond. I'll give you an example. Let's think of a fleet of individual cars that are communicating with each other. At this moment, we don't want high rates of transmission, but we want very low latency, and our coupling must be very effective, because any minor mistake may lead to an accident, a car accident, for example. Now, a study by the British Ministry of Telecommunications showed that the impact of 5G to the UK's GDP by 2030 will be very important. However, this effect will not go through the brand telecommunications, but with the use of 5G in industrial production. This is why 5G is the first generation in history that has attracted state interest that much. For example, Greece, we have the investment fund Festos that is funding startups that are developing 5G. In 4G or 3G in previous years, this was not so. We had the standard model, we had the companies, the developers, and the providers. These were the ones to invest and to attract clients and customers. This is why 5G is very, very important. Now, where are we standing in terms of 5G around the world? These are some data from January 2022. Then we had 78 countries with live 5G networks. The list is increasing every month. In Greece, 5G penetration is very important, and I'm very glad to see that all providers are planning large investments in order to have a radio coverage of more than 50% by the end of the year. Now, 5G, despite all these benefits, has created a kind of debate in the scientific community. And the debate is the following: is 5G a technological evolution, or is it a technological revolution? The answer up to date is that it is more than a technological evolution. And the reason is, we have two main reasons that have not made 5G, have not turned 5G into a technological revolution. The first one is that the transmission or the transfer to higher frequencies that 5G promises to use is very slow. It is very slow because the cost of electronics is very high, still very high. And the second reason is that 5G cannot support heterogeneous networks, internet Internet of Everything applications. In the 5G, we were talking about the Internet of Things, but the new generation is Internet of Everything. So for this reason, the first research projects have already started for the development of 6G. 6G will bring us to the era of terabit per second. 5G is gigabit per second. So 6G will also drop consumption. No, will also reduce latency to 0.1 millisecond and will increase reliability in order to satisfy the 7 nines law. So this number that you see with the 7 nines means that we have very good reliability. To go from 5 to 7 nines is a very hard task. So in 6G, engines will be managed and handled as a user. Humans have very specific and limited potential. Human vision is not 3D. Is not 3D. Engines does not have such limitations. A 3D robot, if planned and if designed properly, can have 3D vision. So you can imagine how we can use it in a big warehouse or in a factory or in a logistics center or a robotic terminal. A high-level description of 6G is that 6G will be a holistic ecosystem where numerous applications of telecommunication control informatics will rely on. It will work in higher frequencies than 5G, and it will be able to support heterogeneous services of Internet of Everything. So, some applications of 6G. We will probably see extended reality-enabled workforces. This is an application. We will have immersive gaming applications with 6G. And we will also this new concept. We will also have this new concept that is, in fact, we are expanding our office, our working space, and we can have meetings with colleagues and partners who are hundreds of kilometers away, having their hologram in the same area as we are, in the same room as we are. So let's think how useful this tool would be during the pandemic years. So what are the technologies that are going to support this transition to 6G? The first technology is the transition to higher frequencies, terahertz. Commercial 5G and 4G frequencies are saturated, so we have to go higher in order to have a broader range of zones and more capacity. This is a device that an arrangement that we have developed in 2019. It is 28 hertz. It has been awarded with the prize of best innovation in Mobile World Congress Challenge in 2019. This is a congress that attracts about 100,000 speakers in Barcelona, Spain. The second solution that we suggest is the cell-free. So all generations of cell phones rely on the so-called cellular networks. Each cell has a base station and it serves the users that are inside the cell. The problem with this structure is when we have a very high number of users, it reaches its limits. So the idea of my team is the following: to forget about this structure and to move on to a new structure where base stations are closer to the users. They are geographically dispersed, they are smaller, with less power consumption, but closer to the users. This way, the losses of transmission will increase the more the distance between the base station and the user increases. So when we bring users closer to this base station, stations, we will have higher frequencies. And this way we will avoid the loss of signal. Why don't we have signal in our cell phone? Because we're very far from the base station. This way we are going to avoid this problem as well. Another solution that at this moment is at the forefront of our research is the following: smart meta surfaces. Let's think of an urban environment, Thessaloniki, the city of Thessaloniki or Athens. This urban environment has not been used in a smart way to strengthen radio coverage and speeds of transmission. These smart meta surfaces will achieve the following: the surfaces, the front faces of the buildings will be covered with very thin meta surfaces that are going to reflect the wave. They will also be able to blind users who want to intervene and to intervene in our communications, that is jammers or hackers. This idea relies on the progress that has been experienced in the metamaterials area. So, and these reflections must take place also at the field of space and time, etc. This is a study that we have published recently. We can see that we can achieve very high, or we can focus the electromagnetic wave and turn it to a specific direction with very few losses. This is not easy to do. We can do it only thanks to these smart meta surfaces. The fourth solution that we suggest, that we propose, is to go from 2D networks to 3D networks using UAVs, drones. There are areas in the world where it is impossible to reach. It is impossible to install a cable, for example, in sub-Saharan Africa, or even in Greece, where we have hundreds of islands. So we can use drones in order to cover these blind spots in the network. And the fifth solution is artificial intelligence. All previous speakers talked about it, artificial intelligence, so there's nothing more to add. Just this last example I would like to give you. Humans have 5 senses. When we're making a video call, John is talking with Melinda. We're only using 2 of our senses, right? Vision and hearing. We cannot use smell. We cannot use touch. In a few years from now, we will be able to break this barrier. John will be able to use all 5 senses and have a sense of the air, the temperature, the moisture of the place where Melinda is. He will also be able to communicate with the robot and collaborate with the robot inside a factory, for example. And the challenges for 6G, first of all, cybersecurity. Second, computational power that does not increase in the same way as the needs are increasing. Here we have a technological gap, as you can see, that needs more research for new materials, etc. We need new arrangements, new areas, arrays, electronics, VSIs. How are we going to create a receiver and transmitter in terahertz? The higher the frequency, the higher the cost of electronics. And fourth, signal processing. This is a top challenge for us. Some say that this is a theoretical problem. It's not a theoretical problem at all. I can show you how the power consumption is increasing the more the number of users or the number of antennas is increasing. How are we going to make a base station when the power consumption is increasing? This is food for thought. So I would like to warmly thank you. I wish every success to the conference.
Όταν αυτούν.
Χαίρετε, μια χαρά. Κύριε Σταύρο.
Ευχαριστώ. Δώσε μου κάτι να δείξω. Αυτό που έδειξε και ο Πρωθυπουργός στην έκθεση.
Να το.
Μπράβο. Εντάξει, ας το πω και εγώ.
Το περιοδικό που το έχεις. Το περιοδικό. Το περιοδικό. Άστο.
Καλησπέρα.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone. It's 12:30, so we can say good afternoon instead of good morning. Welcome to this summit organized by the Ministry for Digital Governance in the framework of Beyond 2022. About the challenges for Thessaloniki and Greece in view of 2030, focusing on technology and innovation. I'm sure that you all know the gentleman on the panel, Mr. Pierakakis, Minister for Digital Governance, and Mr. Kalafatis, Deputy Minister for the Interior in charge of issues of Macedonia and Thrace. We will talk briefly about what we're planning to do in Thessaloniki and in Greece concerning innovation. I will start with Mr. Pierakakis and the good news that have to do with the announcement made yesterday about the first Google Cloud region in Greece and Southeastern Europe. This is an investment that will contribute to national GDP more than 2.5 billion euros by 2030. And at the same time, around 20,000 new employment posts will be created. Mr. Pierakakis, what does this mean for the country? And what does it mean in financial terms for the future? Good afternoon. I think that's an important development and evolution, both concerning what it means and what it symbolizes. First of all, concerning the symbolic level, I believe that if somebody had a look at the total amount of investments carried out in Greece since 2019, for example, data centers, Microsoft made such an investment, Amazon another one, data Lambda Healing's acquisition. Now Google announced its investment. We're becoming a Google region in data center. This didn't happen on its own. It's the result of a strategy concerning cloud. And every time that we come here to Thessaloniki, we inaugurate something new. We have big consulting companies, big infrastructure and technology companies come here, and in Yanana, where we have good universities. This is a vote for confidence for Greece and the recognition of the good value of engineering and informatics university departments. And the figures that you mentioned is the indirect impact. There is a clear figure that hyperscalers do not announce and multinationals do not announce. It is announced depending on their needs to invest in each country. This investment creates employment costs, but the indirect impact is the most important one, because if we don't have this kind of infrastructure, we can't do anything else, both in telecommunications and cloud, because without them we can't do anything. GovGR demand good cloud services, low latency. This is the ground upon which all the other digital services will grow. The top vision was to help Greek talents find good jobs in our country. This is being implemented and happening gradually, and also to attract foreign engineers who want to work and live here. I was very happy to see, as the mayor said, that Thessaloniki is thirdly ranked worldwide in order to attract digital nomads. That's just the beginning. This is a procedure, it's not a situation. This is a step upon which we will build a new edifice. Each new investment will increase its investment, its presence, and it will increase its scale. It's just the beginning. You mentioned it indirectly. This is an ongoing situation, a situation in progress. In recent years, we had this trend of young people leaving Greece to find a job abroad. Is this a good mechanism to bring these people back and attract scientists from foreign scientists to come to work in Greece, as you mentioned? Yes, undoubtedly. If we want to make a ratio from the informatics, we could say that our country had always had the hardware, but not the software. We had the raw material, good university departments, but we didn't have the correct strategy in order to unleash the huge Greek potential. What is digital transformation or reform? It is four things. It is the public, telecommunication infrastructure and cloud infrastructure, skills. We can see the National Academy skills and the penetration of new technologies in the private sector. If we had a poll in 2019, one would say the state. That would be the last one. But that reversed now. We must have a big change in all four factors. The most difficult one is the skills, although it might not be so evident. Why? Because this is a world that keeps on changing. We are 25th in mobile telephony. In cloud, we have investments. In the public sector, we are running fast. We have the recovery fund to cover the distance. In the private sector, we provide tools especially for SMEs, and we will move fast. But for the skills, that's a big issue for the following decades, because there we will have a transition of education systems. You will have more than one career in your life. You will live longer, so you will have to change jobs and you must be retrained. So states must be taught and learn from businesses. This change is not horizontal, because you must know different skills if you want to use GovGR. But if you work in the Ministry for Digital Governance and you want to learn the cloud tools, you must acquire different skills. Or if you serve your military service in the Greek army, you must have different skills. Or a student must have different skills, so we must have a 360-degree strategy. To my mind, several of the investments in these centers is substantial in order to achieve the transition that we're talking about. So skills is the biggest issue. I have a second question here, a sub-question. How did this miracle and wonder occurred in the public sector? Because the public sector was not a flexible sector. How did it manage to make a leap forward and move faster than the private sector? And this is acknowledged by several representatives of private businesses. Before coming to this podium with Mr. Kalafatis, I made a presentation to Cambridge University students. We had a video conference with them. They wanted to know the answer to your question. I will repeat that it is a procedure, a process, not a situation. We have not completed this process. We have moved just the needle and we have solved just a part of the big problem, but not all of it. But it will be solved because we follow the same recipe for everything. In order to succeed that, one should think out of the box, especially before the 2019 elections. The Prime Minister played a big role to that because he had the experience, the prior experience when he was a Minister of electronic governance that was called back then. So there is a symbolism here. Kyriakos Mitsotakis abolished the ministry that he was leading in the previous government. This shows that he recognized a problem that should be solved. So all this competence went now to the Ministry for Digital Governance. There was a Ministry of Digital Policy in the previous government. That was good. But what did we do? We transferred all this to the new ministry, and in this, if you ask me to what was one main thing that was substantial besides the public servant whose skills were recognized and were brought to the table, what was the one big change that affected everything? It was 2 articles in one law. What do I mean by that? In law 4623 of 2019, that was passed and voted 1 month after the elections in August 2019. In this law, there were 2 articles having to do with interoperability and interfunctionality. This means that the different public registries could talk to each other. We took all these registries, instead of being from bottom up, we changed that and have demanded only one signature. So we started linking together the various registries of our life, and we simplified our life. This explains why we had only 8.8 million electronic transactions in 2018. Now this figure has become more than 1 billion. 1 billion. If you divide it by your population, this means 100 queues that you won't have to go through thanks to this process. The state hasn't been built focusing on the citizen and the businessman. So this is the way it should have been. We're turning the equation. Besides Kyriakos Mitsotakis, it was the happy and fortunate coincidence that you were the minister in this specific ministry. I'm saying that. And of course, it was the pandemic issue that pushed us to this direction. So that's the general framework. Let's come now to the issue of Thessaloniki. Mr. Kalafatis, recently it was announced a catalog, a list of actions, 30+ projects that change Thessaloniki in view of 2030. In this list of actions and projects, there are 4 actions that have to do with technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. The The first one is the change in the industrial zone in Kalohori. That was a difficult venture, a complicated one. How will it move on? What do you think will be the benefit from this effort? Allow me to say a few words about the way we see Thessaloniki in 2030. It is related to what Kyriakos had just said. It has to do with the way of thinking. We have changed the way of thinking. There is a managerial approach nowadays. And the state and the Prime Minister, Mr. Mitsotakis, follows a conscious strategic choice so that in 2030 Thessaloniki will be a contemporary, functional, dynamic, developing city that will create those infrastructure to take advantage of its comparative advantages. What we are doing in practice is summed up in this leaflet. That the Prime Minister showed it in the press conference. It includes 30 plus projects that form the 2030 Thessaloniki agenda. This is a multi-level approach, an unprecedented one. One level is innovation, extroversion, and entrepreneurship. It is also infrastructure, the other one health, and the third one is extroversion and innovation, and fourth one is redevelopment. The third one is a goal and necessary precondition. It is a goal because we want Thessaloniki to become a hub of new technology, of innovation and extroversion, with all these important foreign big companies coming here and investing in the city, although just 4 or 5 years we didn't even exist on the map. But now we have become attractive and they try to find us and locate us. That's not only, but it's not only that. This is a necessary precondition so that we can achieve the goal of 2030, because the new technologies go through the whole developmental approach of the city. This is a totally different approach of things. This was not self-evident. I'd like to add here and say that what we have achieved is the following. We have, number one, the main goal, which is Thessaloniki being a contemporary operational functional city in 2030. Sub-target 1, how can we take advantage of the comparative advantages of the city, its people, its hospitality, its friendly people, its gastronomy, its location? How can we put all this on the map and have a footprint? We are tired of just talking about the beautiful city of Thessaloniki. We want to see a footprint on the quality of life in Thessaloniki. The second goal, which is important for us, is to cover the gap that exists between Western Thessaloniki and the rest of Thessaloniki. We will follow specific projects and actions, and we have a specific way of talking about it. This will happen at 2 levels. The first one is the social level and the level of quality of life. That's why the new oncology hospital will be built in the western part of the city, and in combination with a new pediatric hospital that will also be built in the western part of the city. These two, together with the 2 existing hospitals of the military hospital and Papageorgiou Hospital, we will have 4 significant hospitals in the western part of the city. Additionally, there we also have the Pavlos Melas army camp that will be reformed. Also there we have the old industrial zone that will be turned into a park. So we want to have a well-balanced development for Thessaloniki. In Kalochori we have 860 businesses that operate or don't operate smoothly. 8 million euros investment will be needed in order to create the necessary infrastructure so that these businesses will operate according to environmental rules. This moves on and it will be included in a ministerial decision. Concerning the Gonos Army Camp, it's going to become a logistics center, and this project will also be linked to the other projects. So on the one hand, we have the development of the port of Thessaloniki that will be connected to the highway to Athens and Alexandroupolis, and it will also be linked to Gonos army camp that will become a logistics center. And in this way, we will develop Western Thessaloniki at social level as well. This is linked to the goal of Thessaloniki 2030. More than 9.3 billion euros will be needed for this goal. We have 3 phases of the projects. The first part is projects that have been completed, like the airport and Cisco. Other projects are at their initial phase, and we will add some more projects in order to reach the final repositioning of Thessaloniki to a future that is approaching us really fast and wants not only to be a follower but mainly a leader in the broader Southeastern Union region of Europe. We all believe that. First and foremost, the Prime Minister himself believes in that because he showed that this is the place. Too many companies. Here in Thessaloniki, we used to say nothing happens here, nothing is going to happen. That's another political rationale. Okay, we do have the story of the Thessaloniki underground. We won't refer to that. We don't only talk, we will work, we will do things, and when the project is completed, the minister will come and make the announcement to the city, to the citizens, focused on what we are doing, without many words, few words, but a lot of work.
Now, in the context of innovation, one of the new things that have been announced is the reconstruction of the western gate of Thessaloniki. Can you tell us a few things about that? The whole part is 4 or 5 plots. That is, in fact, the new ecosystem of innovation that is created in Thessaloniki. Thesintec is a major project that is fully supported, and there's a drive, a very strong drive of that. But there are many other things that are happening. We have the funding of the project by the Recovery Fund. The rest will be covered by private investors to reach the 75 million, 35 from the Recovery Fund and the rest from the private investors. And all the projects, these 30 plus projects, have a specific schedule. They have the implementation body, and they're all visible projects. Now, as for the project that you mentioned, is something new. It is a city inside the city. It is a city that will be the object of
separate presentation of the plan. And this will be added on what I've mentioned, because this is in the western part of the city as well. So it will deliver added value. The rationale, the project, the concept is to have business spaces. It is the result of an international architectural competition. Very large architectural companies have participated in this competition. So the result is excellent, and we will be able to implement this project. So it will be an object of individual of separate analysis. Now, question to both of you. It concerns all these activities and all these actions and initiatives that are taking the overall situation that Mr. Pierakakis described. A major topic is the collaboration of and the interaction of the society with all these new things. Here we have the universities. What is the role of the universities, and what can we do so that this collaboration with the large universities of the city to be able to move on and to accelerate this digital development that we are trying to achieve? So I will get out of the Thessaloniki and I will give you the overview of the governmental policy. Okay, let's take a look at Thessaloniki on the map. We look back high. We look high. So we find 5 think tanks. Our 3 universities: the Aristotle, the Macedonian University, and the International, and we have the other universities of the region as well. All these are providing and producing, generating brains and skills, and all these people can be absorbed in the local market. This is done with the innovation hub that we are creating in order to attract and keep our children here and to create a different reality. It is important that this government does not blame and does not accuse business for anything. So entrepreneurship and making business and creating is something very important, and especially for Thessaloniki. It is important that in this overall plan and the developmental approach for the city, it is very important to say that it is the first time that we're all working side by side. First we have the government, then the local authorities, first and second degree, and I should praise the role of the mayor of Thessaloniki as well as of the region of Thessaloniki in Central Macedonia, the businesses and the citizens themselves. All everybody, citizens, local authorities, government, and educational institutions and foundations, with the deans supporting these initiatives, and with an enabling legislative framework. All these make us feel optimistic, and this is the answer to all those who are cautious and who are reluctant. So this is why we're optimistic. What is that we are all working on the close to each other. Universities play a major role. I said that in my previous answer. Universities are necessary at 2 levels. First of all, the obvious one, to train and educate people so that they can produce in the productive procedure of new technologies. And the second concerns research, how technology can be exploited and can be used by the society. And as we talked about the investment of Google, the original concept of Google algorithm was a research project and Stanford. So they said that we are going to classify search based on those who are the searchers. So this was a research project, a research concept at the beginning. So this is an example showing that how the university outcome, research outcome, must go outside in the market and be used by the society. Indeed, entrepreneurship and business was not a good concept, a positive concept in our country, and it was not a positive in the universities. This changed the history with Jeremy, with funds, with Equifund, how startups starting being developed in Greece, how a whole ecosystem was started around some structures like incubators, etc. So steps were taken based on the collective efforts of everybody. And through this story, we have parts of the state that are following. But in order to speak in terms of skills, so we have the universities that have to follow up and monitor and follow up the market, what is happening in the market. This is done because we have very good professors. The second part is to have reskilling. They do entering the reskilling procedure. Let's see the side of MIT. If you see on the side of MIT, you will see the links. MIT is mainly promoting reskilling programs than the usual curricula. I think that the Greek universities are going to move towards this direction as well. And then we have exercise, since Greeks are coming back due to the recovery fund and due to the COVID pandemic and due to a huge change that is taking place in terms of the strategy, the national strategy and national institutions, we have to deal with the following positive problem. We have IT businesses that are looking for staff, who are looking for experts, and they cannot find. So we have to fill this gap, this skill mismatch. How are we going to do this? We must improve, and we must be taught by others. I talked about universities, but I want to share another example. If you have unemployed STEM graduates, for example, an unemployed graduate from the chemistry department or the physics department, you can reskill this graduate in IT so that they can learn code and they can find a good job in the technology sector. All these overlap and cover gaps. Now, let's move forward. A rather hard question, of more political nature. From what I read yesterday, the digital state is providing a batch of 1,500 services. And he said that this is a silent revolution. This is how he characterized this. So what is next? What are your next steps? What are the next steps that we have to take? Something new, or we need to intensify our efforts? We've never believed, the description and the definition of the Prime Minister was excellent, because we have never believed in one big thing. We believed in many small things that add on a bigger idea. This is how we have managed to build this number of 1,500 services. We started with 501 services. This happened in March 2020. The concept was right. We wanted to create a gate including all Greek state services in one spot, so one-stop shop. So the first day, when we have added some new services, we had people calling us and telling us congratulations for services that we have not created, because there were many services that we have not, that they were not aware of. We have created 2 new services, but there are many services that were available for many years before. But people did not know that, because everything was buried on the sides of the various different ministries. But this is not the work of the state. The work of the state is not to digitize itself. It is to serve citizens. So now we have 1,500 services. But the most important thing is not the number. If we think of the number, you will understand that we are adding almost one service every single day. But the most important thing, the most interesting thing is transactions. 8.8 million transactions in 2018, 94 in 2020, 527 million in 2021, 1 billion in 2022. So if you see this exponential increase, you will understand that this is our target, to take one step at a time, to simplify all the procedures, and to pass this to the gate, the service gate. So there are many more services to be added. There are some pending issues in terms of the transfer of real estates and properties. We have digitalized the transfer of ownership, the ownership transfer for cars, but we will soon do it for properties as well. At the beginning, for the properties that are registered. So we will do this step by step. We have created the wallet, the ID wallet in July. So the ID will be used, will be recorded and uploaded on our cell phone. The driving license as well. We will also be able to upload other documents on our cell phone. For example, the disability card for every identification document. So what I would like to say is that people do not need any more. We will, but they want to hear about things that have already been done, that have already been achieved. This is why we're going to gain their trust back. No more announcements and big words. We want continuous small changes that are announced as soon as they are ready, and they are ready to be used. They will always have feedback, and they will always be improved, because this is our task, to improve, to continuously improve the services that we provide to our citizens. Would you like to add something, Mr. Kalafatis? I would just like to add on the rationale behind all this concept, because sometimes it is very hard to understand the part of the politics, because traditionally there's a gap between citizens and the government. There's always an issue of unreliability that we have to cover. I will focus on the word silent that was mentioned. That is a magic word for projects that any of our ministers have to do. So within my competence, we have to address a large silent majority. This is who we address to, and the background has changed a bit. They do not exist so that we exist. We exist in order to serve our citizens. So every move we make upon the order of the Prime Minister, our target, our goal is to serve our citizens better, the citizens in their daily life, and also to serve the target of development of the developmental policy. This is the base. This is what we're doing in practice, and this change is now felt by citizens. The most important management manuals say that bigger reforms are relying on small changes, and interactions and every small changes. Small changes are taking place, and with these small changes we can change the whole concept. This is what we do. This is our rationale, and this is the basis for our political operation, because everything at the end of the day must have practical results, practical outcomes. So in the past, people used to think that everything is stays in theory. No, we want to be doers. We don't want to be speakers. This is very difficult to translate, says the chairperson, the moderator. At the end, a final question on politics. Since we are in Greece, and elections are soon to come, many times, many things depend on the scientific, the expertise and the persistence of the minister. I believe, and this is my personal opinion, your presence in the ministry has played a very important role in the ministry, but we may have a different government or a different minister. Do you believe that in Greece we have managed to establish a level of political consensus in terms of digital transformation? This is something that we managed to achieve, and we have two evidences that are the two main legislative and regulatory documents of the ministry, that we had the consensus of the other political parties. So we had the one law that was voted by all, by 4 political parties. In the last law for emerging technologies has been voted for by 3 parties. We had to deliberate, to talk with them. We had to listen to them. We were responsible. We had to do that because when we're talking about infrastructure, digital infrastructure, technological infrastructure, so it is everybody understands that these things are very important and that everybody needs to show consent. In Greece, it is very difficult to build a consensus. For example, in education, we may have huge conflicts, but in infrastructure that is hardware, usually we must and we are able to have consensus. So the question is a question that must be raised to every citizen in view of the elections. We had a trap in the previous decades, so now people will have to decide if they want to move forward the way we have been moving forward these last 3 years. So the main target, the main goal and objective is to be able to agree on what, although we disagree on how. Finland have a very good educational system. They are not challenging it. They are not changing it. Israelis for their military issues and for their innovation ecosystem. They may disagree on how, but they do agree on what. This is what we managed to achieve in this field. But the responsibility does not belong to a single person. Tago needs to. So I believe that I cannot give a clear answer to a question. But do you believe that there will be consensus? Yes, probably, because this is why I mentioned the 2 laws that we have voted for. We had the consultations because we wanted the consensus of the other political parties, especially for what you said. Not because there's a value in consensus itself. Sometimes we need disagreement because it is more fertile, but because in this specific infrastructure, this progress, this effort must continue for the next 10 or 15 years. Progress must continue, and so that this 1,500 services become 3,000 or 4,000. We believe that the main dimension does not depend on the political system, but on the administration of the ministry that have been reskilled, that have been enhanced, people from all the parts of the ministry who are the major players, who are the drivers of these big changes that have taken place. Thank you. And Mr. Kalafatis, yes, I think you will be positive on that. I cannot agree less. I cannot agree more with Kyriakos. I will only focus on the last thing that he said, because I have a long experience in ministries, in the Ministry of Urban Planning, for example, where I was for 19 years, and I'm talking especially for the human resources and the manpower of the ministries. There, My first contacts with the administrative staff is that I always told them that I rely on the administration to do the work. These are people who are spending all their life to provide services to the citizens. So no minister can doubt an administrative employee or an administrative executive, because they know how things work. They want the inspiration, they want the guidance, they want trust, and they want practical support in practice, because you are his political superior. But I will take these 20 or 30 executives who are experienced and have the know-how in order to create a team and move forward. You cannot have 100% consensus. I have always calling the people to when I was going to a new ministry, and I had to work with the people who consented and who welcomed this call of mine. So you cannot always have 100% consensus, but you are working for this silent majority. People do not care about who has done who has carried out the successful projects. They want the projects to be carried out and to be completed. People in Greece, through this experience, especially of the previous years, can judge and can compare and can understand and identify the political power that is able to push the country forward, to create the optimal conditions for everybody, and to advance the country as much as possible, because the Prime Minister, as well as everybody in our government, believes in the power and the potential of Greece. So the citizens must decide and must compare and must judge who are the most adequate ones, the suitable ones to push Greece forward. And the last question to Mr. Pierakakis. Some say that the use of these services are used mostly by the young generation. Is this true? And how can we help elder people take advantage of these services? Or is it a myth? No, it's not a myth exactly. We see that young children are born inside technology. They're digital natives. Compared to the percentage is different, because we cannot put them in equal terms with the 80 or 90-year-olds who are not familiar with these new technologies. So we are planning these platforms in the simplest possible way. If you compare GovGR with the platforms some tens of years ago, you will understand that these new platforms are very friendly, user-friendly. Second, you must not only have digital channels of service. So if we're trying to make the state more flexible and better, more digital, let's think of the national vaccination program. You could book arrange or make an appointment, make your appointment for your vaccination, either from the platform or in a pharmacy or in a hospital. So we are trying to create various programs. For example, the Digital Academy for Citizens that provides content, digital content. Inside the Greek families, younger members of the family are helping the elder members of the family to use all these digital services. But at the end of the day, we must implement all these pieces of the strategy so that the state can become fully accessible to this new easier digital version of it. So thank you very much. Let's hope that next year in this fair we have more people that are harmonized and that are able to use these new technologies. Thank you.
Κάτσε να μιλήσει η Δήμητρα τώρα. Ξεκινάμε. Λοιπόν, ξεκινάμε το επόμενο πάνελ, το οποίο θα έχει ως θέμα το Internet of Things.
So we're resuming with the next panel with the title Internet of Things. Internet of Things has become part of our lives for many years now and will still be here, but several people and businesses do not really understand what this means and what the big investments announced mean. For example, yesterday it was announced that a big Google investment would take place in Greece called Cloud Center. And then we received a lot of questions about what this Cloud Center means and what will it mean for Greece. The same is true for Internet of Things. Many people don't really comprehend what it means. Together with us, we have two people who have long experience in informatics, and they will try to explain to us what the Internet of Things means. We're starting with Mr. Nikos Giannakakos, who is Business Development and Innovation Executive at Unisystems. Could you please explain to us in simple words what is IoT and how will become part of our life? Good afternoon. Internet of Things. When it first appeared as a term, it made me think what it means, because it is a general term. It is so general because it tries to cover a lot of things. It started with special sensors. We talked back then about special sensors that transmitted data, that the battery would last for 10 years. How deep this sensor would be and what special networks would be needed in order to transfer this data. And this further evolved. Machine learning and AI were added, and this complete IoT. A lot of things are being said about cybersecurity, so we move on to another level. So what is evolving today is everything that is linked to the internet is Internet of Things. For example, our mobile phone has so many sensors that it is part of the Internet of Things. Electric vehicles, they are also part of the Internet of Things. In short, a technological framework is used and is created and built up where a lot of things are included. We do not understand all these generally speaking, the public does not understand what it means. So when we are said that millions of devices are linked to IoT, it's true, yes, and even more. Even the software that brings data is part of the Internet of Things. And yes, this has an exponential growth. The other speaker that we've got with us is Mr. Tassos Egoumenides from OVA. Could you tell us how telecommunication companies are involved in IoT and how mobile services and phones are involved too? Internet without connectivity does not exist. So communication providers play an important role because they invest in technology upgrading in optic fiber. And by 2027, we will invest both in 5G and optic fiber, creating a 10 megabps network that will give a speed of 1 megabps. So interconnected services that will be covered because we're talking about the devices that will be in a basement. So 5G technologies can serve these needs. Or if somebody wants to check his house for security issues, all these are part of the Internet of Things. But besides telecommunications, what is also important is the ecosystem. Internet of Things is not only the sensor or interconnectivity, it is all this together. And so cooperations and partnerships play an important role. We, Nova, have a special department that is specialized in the integration of all this. Innovative companies bring their applications and we can complete them and provide them to citizens as a service. That's very interesting. Do these devices provide real-time communication? Are there some fragments of the sensor that intervene? What is the latency? It depends on the application. If this is necessary, there are the latency is a characteristic of 5G network. Yes, when we talk about some robots, yes, there is latency, but it is not one size fits all. It depends on each case because some applications have low depth, some others need more speed. So depending on the application, we use different technology. How do companies are involved in IoT? For example, Unisystem is mainly known as an informatics company. How are you involved in the Internet of Things? What are you planning to do? Why are you interested in the Internet of Things? Unisystems is an informatics company, as it is broadly known. But in the last years, something important occurred. Unisystem and the whole Quest group, ACS, InfoQuest, Grid, all the companies of our group realized that if innovation is not part of our DNA, we will always be laggers. We will always see innovation in being implemented and we will chase it. With the business unit in research and technology and in RD, we use technologies and we incubate them. We try to see alternative commercial models, partnerships. We give a lot of emphasis on the ecosystem, as Mr. Igoumenidis mentioned. The ecosystem is what will bring experts who will match technicians and the technology framework in order to create use cases. We have invested a lot in that. We have made Pleiades. This is an ecosystem of 44 members, ranging from educational institutions, small-scale companies, universities. And what we do is we find the use cases and we implement technology. For example, we talk about drones. As a use case, it can be used in fire detection, in mobile telephony infrastructure, in transport, in logistics. In transports in the health sector. So we see that one technology unlocks a lot of use cases. When we stop talking about technology and technology will become transparent, this is what we talk about smart cities. Smartness is defined by technology. When we stop talking about technology will be so deep in us. That's very interesting. When do you believe that this interconnected world will be able to be complete? not to have that a smart connected hospital or bus stop, but a whole connected city in Greece. I don't know exactly when, but it is an exponential trend. But as Mr. Pierakakis mentioned, besides technology and the ecosystem, what is needed is to integrate all this in our daily life, to change our mentality and culture, to develop skills. I remember of a municipality who told me that we digitalized the records in order to reduce the amount of paper, but later the paper volume was doubled. Why? Because they didn't have the skills to do that. They received everything electronically, they print it, they scanned it and put it in the system again. Why is Nova interested in the Internet of Things? What are you planning to do? Our group is changing, and in the last 2 years, an ICT group has been established that looks into these projects. We connect devices and connectivity, applications and data analysis. We have started some projects. We also had some projects about the fleet management. That was called machine to machine. Now it is called the Internet of Things. Marketing is also included in the evolution of devices. We have some projects about parking and some more innovative solutions. In the municipality of Amarusio, a project about flood prevention. We use special sensors in rainwater pipes, and so we measure the amount of water, and at real time we can predict and prevent a flood to an extent that this is possible. Yes, this has already occurred and we will further expand it. It's an innovative project. Another example from a different sector is in health. On the island of Naxos, we transfer hygiene material from Naxos to other smaller islands around it, and we transfer pharmaceutical equipment. That's very important because some old people cannot transfer and go to hospital. So we take pharmaceutical material to them. So together with vertical, whether we call it port industry or smart city, we will achieve that. Smart cities move faster. The Ministry for Digital Governance that has given the funds aims at that. The public sector paves the way and the private sector will follow. So the conclusion that we can draw is that all companies that are involved in communication and informatics embrace IoT. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. I'd like to thank you for your presence here.
Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ για το ενδιαφέρον αυτό πάνελ που...
We would like to thank the previous panel for the interesting presentations.
The other side of your fear is your success. Let's call to the podium Erasmus Winstedt Cerning, I hope I said it right, founder of Creative Business Network. Thank you.
Thank you, Dimitra, and thank you everyone for listening in here. And most of all, I would like to start out with saying thank you to MS.com and also to Industry Disruptors and Michalis Stankos for inviting me here all the way from Denmark. Let's see if I can get this to work. I thought it was a good idea to first make the case for the creative industries and for creativity, then tell you why it's so important, and then make the connection between technology and creativity. Originally, I was going to call this presentation Creativity and Technology, but I knew at a place like this, I would have to turn it around because otherwise I wouldn't get anyone to show up. So creativity usually takes an underdog position when it comes to technology, which is somewhat strange, especially if you're in Greece and you look at what makes out the culture and creative industries. This is what Greece is known for. You're known for your literature, your theater, your sculpture. Everything that you're known for in the world are not any of the technology firms that you see here at this conference, but actually of your cultural heritage, your history. That is what Greece is known for. You could say, is this really a sector? And it is actually. They have much more in common. They have many of the same challenges as among each other. They all have troubles with accessing finance. They are usually much more international than other sectors. And also IPR, you know, the symbolic value often makes up a greater part of the value that they create. So they are actually one sector. They have more in common than the transportation sector. And also, usually it's around 10 to 12 of most developed economies, and they're also very powerful because they work at a completely different level than we're used to. I would like for you to take a look at these two artists. This one, you may know, this is Piet Mondrian. Piet Mondrian from the Netherlands, and over there we have, it's a piece of art that you can see at the Georgios Kostakos Museum for Modern Art here in Thessaloniki. It's Lyubov Popova, Traveling Woman. And now I have a question for you that's very simple. If these were airlines, who would you fly with? And obviously, we all would like to fly with Piet Mondrian, right? Even though this one is called Traveling Woman. And this is a decision that your gut decided before your brain decided. There's no rational reason why this should be the case other than Popova. But I just want to tell you that these are really powerful industries as such, and they also spill over into other sectors. In other words, we have creativity and design in all sectors. There's a reason why this hall is blue and white. There's always some symbolic value in everything we do. And again, just to drive my point home here about design, of these two figures here, which one is called Booby and which one is called Takete? You all know that this one is Booby and you all know that this one is Takete, because there is some kind of instinctive feelings about design, about aesthetics, and that actually guides us, all human beings, in different directions. You think you have a free will, but you don't. It's the creatives that control us, the creatives that make us go in a certain direction and to consume things that we never thought that we would want. Cross-sector innovation is really important. The creatives contribute to growth and innovation in other sectors, in transportation, in education, also in health. In November 2019, just before the corona epidemic erupted, CBN, together with the WHO, produced this report, What's the Evidence of the Role of Arts in Improving Health and Well-Being? And there were 3,000 cases. If you suffer from from postnatal depression, you just gave birth and you're depressed, you don't love your child, your doctor might give you Prozac or something antidepressant, but actually it's much better, much more efficient, and that's actually evidence-based, this is what I say here. It's been researched to start singing groups, that you start singing certain songs together with other women or men that are also depressed after giving birth. So you can actually say that the creative industries are much more efficient in some ways of coming up with solutions to the challenges that we're facing. Now let's go into some more of the technology stuff. I used to work for a film festival or volunteer for a film festival in Denmark. And in the old days, movies would arrive in these things. That's why in the past, movies would have an opening date and a closing date. And even if the movie was successful, it had to travel on because the movies were physical stuff that was moved around between the cities and the markets. Then they digitized. Digitization is a big thing for the creative industries because that's also copying. They digitized the movies, and we had in 2012, I didn't say much what I do, but I run a competition for creatives in the world, global competition, and the winner in 2012 was We Love Cinema. So this was on-demand cinema. That's very different from on-demand movies or on-demand music. It's actually saying, I love Pulp Fiction. I want to dress up like John Travolta, and Melissa, she wants to dress up like Uma Thurman, and we want to go to the movie together with other people that dress up like John Travolta and Uma Thurman, and do the dance from Pulp Fiction. I hope you all have seen it. It's quite iconic. So this was on-demand cinema. It wasn't very successful. They were a bit ahead of times. Maybe today it would be more popular, where you could actually see these people getting together in these clans, in these groups, and perform together. So that was 2012. We move forward to 2020. Raiku, a design company that actually have solved the problem with bubble wrap. So instead of using plastic, oil, then plastic, and packaging expensive wines or jewelry or cosmetics, porcelain, they use some wood spring rolls. In other words, if you lose this packaging in nature, it's just going to be compostable. It's just going to be integrated and become part of nature again. So this is also an example how technology, because there's a technology behind these springs, and creativity, design go together to come up with solutions for the world. I also want to just mention two other examples of how gamification can help. Over here we have a Greek startup, a Greek SME, that in 2017 competed in Creative Business Cup called Owiwi. They use gamification in HR. So they actually have people go through some games before they're being selected to work for a company. And so this is very digital. This is very tactile. This is a company that specializes in making events at castles and museums where you get an envelope that you open, and then you get a lot of different tasks and chores to go through to solve different mysteries. And they're very, very successful startups, both of them, from the creative industries. So, technology again, is it something that we need to tackle? Is it something that is problematic? I must say that technology comes with a lot of externalities, a lot of bad stuff as well. You know, we know now that about 1/3 of all the girls that go on Instagram feel worse after they've been to Instagram. We know about fake news, and I would say to some extent, technology is in some areas a threat to our democracies. It's actually a threat to how our societies work. That is something that we should really think about, how technology has actually made it more difficult for us as societies, as Europe, as the world, to stay connected, to understand each other, and to move on. So I think there's a lot of trouble. In Creative Business Network, a global network, we see technology as an enabler, not as God, but as a resource, just as human beings. And I want to just give you a couple of examples. For example, the long tail. Thanks to the internet, if I'm a big fan of avant-garde Japanese pipe music, then I can actually find someone. I can find someone over here playing avant-garde Japanese pipe music. And they can find someone in Denmark that like avant-garde Japanese pipe music. So we actually have lots of mini markets. So that is good. That is something that is really, really good. I think it's more problematic that we tell all the young people in the world that they have to become coders, they have to be interested in technology, because we are actually missing it from country to country. We're missing people who know how to use their hands, to work with craftsmanship, to know how to draw and design, to tell stories that give us meaning, that connects us, etc. And I can just say, for example, in Italy, they are estimating a lack of about 250,000 young people that know something about creative craftsmanship and creative skills. Moving on a bit and making it even more dry. So, how can tech be an enabler for the creatives? On one hand, it can save costs and increase efficiency. There are new methods. So, for example, if you are making a movie, usually you have maybe 100 hours of movie material to make a 1-hour documentary. And you can use AI to make that process of editing 100 hours down to 1 hour using AI. There's companies that do that. We also have making good decisions. For example, we have companies now that can see that red shoes are on the rise, or that clowns are being more prominent in social media, and that's why suddenly clowns also will appear more in the real world. So this ability of AI and new technologies to actually help make better decisions on which movie should we produce. On the other hand, it can also be a bit scary if it's AI that decides what movies are being produced, because maybe we won't see many of the risky and unusual things. I remember reading the Economist article about HBO. You know, HBO is a fairly successful movie and TV series making company. They once made a decision to make a TV series called 6 Feet Under. I don't know if you remember that series, 6 Feet Under. It's about a gay, depressed funeral director. And I would say, would you pitch that if the AI, would that have selected that as something that would actually be successful? Because it was a very successful series. So that's also a danger when we apply it to making good decisions. Will we also get some unusual, surprising decisions out of AI? Then discover and engage new audiences. We already see that, how theater becomes immersive, how you can watch the same theater production in other countries. We see how new audiences get interested in, for example, Japanese avant-garde pipe music. And last but not least, it also has a lot of influence on creation. Usually we've been talking about technology for creativity as something that's only about promotion, platforms, audiences, but not about the actual product itself. But you can actually end up, having AI choose music. I wish I knew if it was an AI bot that helped Stranger Things to choose Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill, or if it was something else that made them choose that song that made so successful. So it can actually inspire and do stuff for human creation. It can also go the other way around. Did you notice that all new songs are 2.5 minutes long? That's because they have to fit into the Spotify format. In the past, a song could be five minutes. Laurie Anderson did a song called Superman. Was that 15 or 20 minutes? But now, 2.5 minutes. So technology and these platforms will also shape it in, I think, a sad way that reduces creativity. So here at the end, with a quick introduction, I have a small video at the end. I also want to make a small commercial for tomorrow, Saturday from 10 to 10:20. I will be with Melissa from Turkey. We will talk about investing in the creative industries. And that means investing in the next H&M, Zara, Lego, Unity, Grand Theft Auto, etc., etc. So it's actually not just cute and nice to have, it's also neat to have, and it's actually rather big business. So now I will end with a startup from Denmark called Rococo. They had discovered that most movies where they used animation were made with cameras and then some dots on an actor that would wear a strange suit. they thought, why don't we take the technology that we have in mobile phones and put them into a suit and make a motion capture suit? In other words, you could make your own cartoon by using a suit. So now I will introduce to you Rococo. These are the startup that is actually people from the film school that didn't really know much about technology but made it work for themselves. So now enjoy a short video, and you're welcome to run the video there in the back of Rococo.
Como te kaora, como te kaora, te tangata, urunana, tiki mafaka pititera. Upa, pititera. Como te kaora, como te kaora. Te tangata, urunana, tiki mafaka pititera. Upa, pititera.
So thank you, and join us in our quest to make the creators, the creatives, feel and be invincible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Czerning. It was very interesting, your presentation. And now we will move on for a break. We'll return about 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
Περάστε αύριο.
Τι να σας πω, δεν ξέρω. Δεν φέρατε το χάρτη.
Λείπουν τα πιστοποιητικά.
Της υπογραφής.
Η αίτηση.
Το δημόσιο αλλάζει. Το κάνουμε πιο φιλικό στον πολίτη. Πιο γρήγορο. Δημιουργούμε νέα κανάλια εξυπηρέτησης. Αξιοποιούμε δεδομένα που έχουν ήδη οι δημόσιοι φορείς. Μειώνουμε την ανάγκη φυσικής παρουσίας στο ΚΙΣΕ. Έχουμε κάνει μεγάλα βήματα. Περισσότερες από 1.450 υπηρεσίες είναι στο gov.gr. Παρακάμπτουμε πολύπλοκες, χρονοβόρες, γραφειοκρατικές διαδικασίες. Διασφαλίζουμε την ταχύτερη εξυπηρέτηση των πολιτών όπου και αν βρίσκονται. Με ασφάλεια και αξιοπιστία. Αναπτύξαμε και εξελίσσουμε το κέντρο διαλειτουργικότητας.